Whoa, boy, oh boy, this is going to be a fun reaction show. We are here to talk about Auburn versus Texas. We have a ton to discuss in this one. We have streaks that ended, history was made, but most importantly for right now in our purposes, Auburn wins 87-82 in a wild finish. So much to talk about. Let's get into it right now. War Eagle, everybody, welcome back to another edition of E2C Network Live here on YouTube, wherever you're watching it, to talk about the Auburn experience. The Auburn experience to us is all about a couple of things, a few things I should say. Auburn sports, Auburn culture, Auburn family stuff, an easier way to say it, though. If it's orange and blue, it's what we do. So thank you so much for joining us in what we do this late evening after yet another roller coaster ride among the Auburn experience. There is plethora of things to discuss this evening. It is a reaction show. That's what we're going to be doing. 87-82, your Tigers win in Texas at Austin at Texas University of Texas, UT, horns down, I guess, if y'all want to start throwing that in there right now. The game has got plenty to talk about in and of itself, but we're going to get into the very most important things that I know most of you are wanting to talk about right at the start here in just a second. As you come into the stream, we'd love for you to do a couple things. Smash that like button for us. It's a huge help to us. Lets people know that we're live. They should join on the stream. And of course, if you're not following or subscribing on whichever platform you're on, we would appreciate you doing that as well, because that is a huge help to us and helping us grow our little family within the Auburn family. Let's talk about this. For the very first time we can say this live on the air, Bruce Pearl is the winningest coach in Auburn basketball history. Congratulations to Coach Pearl. I cannot believe that we're actually sitting here. Now, I had high hopes, I had high beliefs that this would come to fruition someday. If you'd asked me if it would have only taken 10 years to do so, I probably would have looked at you and said, that's pretty high expectations. It's possible, but high expectations. But we are sitting here amongst history. Coach Pearl, the winningest coach with 214 wins, passes Coach Eves and becomes the sole leader in Auburn wins history for head coaches. Congrats to him. Congrats to the team. And congrats to everybody in the Auburn family for this historic moment that we all get to celebrate today. Now, the other thing, the streak that was ended. And that leads us into how we normally like to open up the show. The score, the big stat, and the storyline. The score, obviously, 87-82. The big stat for me, 51. That is where, because of certain announcers jinxing Chad Baker-Mazara, 51 is how many free throws in a row he had made before he jinxed him in his final moments. And that streak comes to an end. And, of course, your storyline, as we already addressed at the very get-go of this, Bruce Pearl, the winningest coach in Auburn basketball history. So much more to talk about. So much to get into in this stream. Folks, wow. I don't even know where to start with this thing, because here I was sitting with about 2 minutes left. If you noticed on YouTube, we even changed the title of the stream so that, it was a little bit more relevant. But almost bit us in the butt, whatever you want to say. But thankfully, it did not. I thought we were going to be having an easy, 10-point plus win to walk away with after we shot some free throws, but we sit here with Auburn surviving 87-82 on a night which was wild and crazy in the SEC and in college basketball, and that's what makes this sport so much fun. When we'll talk about the implications of that coming up pretty soon here. We want to know from you, your thoughts, your comments. It looks like we're going to have a pretty poppin' chat tonight, so we'll do our best to keep up with some of that. So post them there. We'll bring them up as they're appropriate tonight. But here's how we normally do this thing, and I have a feeling that we're just going to bounce all the way around. We normally go through the stats individual-wise, the team, and then talk about the stories within it. The two major stories tonight: Bruce Pearl becomes the winningest coach in Auburn basketball history after Auburn wins 87-82, and the free throw streak for Chad Baker-Mazara does come to an end at 51 in really crucial moments there as well. So that's no knock on him whatsoever. That's crunch time, and he had a lot of people on the TV continuing to talk about it. You don't talk about a pitcher when they're on a heater, right? I know it's a different sport, but anyway. Okay. Let's do this thing. Let's see what you guys are saying. Maybe let's check in there first and see what you guys are talking about. I think mostly we got a lot of celebration here. Bryant calling for the GOAT status for one Bruce Pearl, and better get ready for a lot of games like these, Devin is saying. I agree. Michael pointing out, got sloppy once Auburn went up by 20. We've seen that a little bit before by this Auburn basketball team. However, look, they're still getting the job done, so you're not going to hear me complaining about that too much tonight. Plenty of celebrations rolling in here, people acknowledging the ending of the streak. And so many things here tonight to start to talk about. Blake points out a good, tough road win. Now, I want to start there. And Blake's got a good point here in a variety of ways. And I've tried my best to get you guys to wrap this around your head. Those of you, I think a lot of you have rationalized this, but the SEC is incredibly good this year. Have you heard us say that before? Have you heard somebody else say that? The fact that you go on the road in the SEC and get a win this year is something to seriously like hang your hat on, because this is right now the best conference in college basketball. When you do that with some of the weight that was hanging on tonight, we can say all we want, or the players can say all they want, that wasn't in the back of their minds. They wanted to get this one for Coach Bruce Pearl. There's going to be probably, once the coaching gets done after the end of the game here, there's going to be a lot of celebrations about that. So certainly, I think that probably played a little bit a part into it as well. And we'll probably get some celebration videos from the locker room. I hope we do, at least. What else we got going on here? Blake says our ability to make free throws might be the difference this year in that deep run in March. Well put. You know exactly where to go. Man after my own heart. We'll talk about that in just a little bit. We already talked a little bit about free throws with the streak ending for Chad Baker-Massara. What else this evening can we see here? Jacob wants to give a little bit of credit to Kamula. Is that how you say it? Kaluma. 34 points for Kaluma tonight for Texas. He really is the difference for them. They finally got their little superstar Trey Johnson going. 19 points for Pope as well. So really the three of them are the ones that kind of got things done. Johnson only gets 11. Kaluma gets 34, and Pope gets 19. But Kaluma had a game for himself. If it wasn't for him, they would be in a world of hurt. What a win. Celebrations coming in. All right, let's walk through this a little bit here and talk about this in a little bit more detail. We're not done talking about the Bruce Pearl effect here. We opened up doing that and congratulating him for 214 wins, winning as coach all time. We'll come back to that. But let's do what we normally try to do on the show here a little bit, and that is discuss the results of the game. The individual stats tonight. Your leading scorer is Janai Broom with 20 points, 7 for 15. He doesn't make his one three-pointer attempt. He's 6 for 7 from the free throw line, and that's pretty good for him, to be honest with you. He has 5 assists, 12 rebounds tonight, so a double-double. He does get 3 fouls and a technical foul, 1 turnover in 36 minutes of play, which is the most tonight. So my question to you all, I've read you who led the scoring, and typically that tends to be the player of the game. Who is your player of the game? Is it Janai? It's been that a lot. I'm going to make a case for someone else if someone in the chat doesn't give this person a little bit of a shout out. I think you need to probably, he needs a little bit of a love tonight as well. Let's see if anybody talks about him. What do you guys say? Oh, somebody already did it. Miles Kelly for the MVP tonight. I think Miles Kelly certainly deserves a little bit of love. CBM is my player of the game. This is from Brian. I think that's a good one as well, with his ability to make the free throws, even with the streak ending. He made some very smart basketball plays. He changes the game a little bit. He's very frustrating for a lot of teams to play him specifically. That's a good one as well. We'll look at some of their stat lines in a little bit. I think, and I see a lot of you pointing it out about the technical foul for Janai at the end. And certainly, I think once the energy of this moment and the way things ended settles down, he probably would realize that wasn't necessary, and he probably put his team in a little bit of a dicey situation. Other people made mistakes too. Denver, got 2 fouls at the end there that probably were maybe questionable, but certainly gave them more free throw opportunities. I hope his whatever happened with him with the knee situation at the end is okay. So certainly there's blame to go around all the way tonight. And I don't think that should take away from what he was able to do tonight. He just looked like he was in control every time he went down there, just dominant as he has continued to be all throughout the year. Janai Broom, as we said, 20 points tonight. Let's look at the rest of your top scorers, 5 in double digits. We'll start with Miles Kelly, who I think would be my pick for player of the game. 18 points tonight, and he was the leading scorer at the half as well. 6 for 12 from the field, 4 for 6 from the three-point arc, 2 for 3 from the free throw line, 3 rebounds, 1 assist. He does have 4 personal fouls, and he was the one in the most foul trouble tonight in 29 minutes of play and 2 turnovers. But we don't get a chance to talk about him enough in greater detail when we talk about, players of the game type stuff. I think maybe once we've done it, but it's usually Janai, sometimes Chad. I think we've had Chaney up there before. But Miles tonight, I think, was really crucial across the board tonight. Denver Jones was my player of the game with that block he had. Certainly that was a really good one. Brian saying as well, agreeing with you on that. Several people are giving praise to Mr. Miles Kelly. We'll get to some of those team stats in just a little bit. Alan says, my wife, where's it at? My wife had to use the defibrillator on me in the final minutes. I think we all had a little bit of it. That's the that's the nature of being an Auburn Tigers sports fan. When CBM smiles, then you should always worry. You always wonder what's going on in his head. Okay. Rest of the stat lines tonight. We talked about Janai. We talked about Miles. Chad Baker-Mazar tonight, 16 points, 4 for 8 from the field, 1 for 3 from the three-point arc, 7 for 8 from the free throw line, 5 rebounds, 3 assists. I mean, you got 3 good candidates tonight for player of the game. You could go with the standard Janai. I think, as we discussed, that technical foul at the end kind of puts a little bit of sour taste in people's mouths, and understandably so. I think Miles was the most consistent across the game tonight, if I'm remembering things correctly. And Chad kind of was the big moment guy, especially with the free throws, things like that. So you take your pick tonight, and none of your answers will be wrong. The rest of your top 5 scores, which are all in double digits, would be Denver Jones with 10, Tahad Pettifer with 10. Let's give Tahad some credit too. He knocked down some free throws for a young freshman in crunch time that we really needed as well. So that's huge. The rest of your scores tonight, Ja'Kai Howard with 6, Chris Moore with 3. How about a SEMO 3? I love me some SEMO 3s. Chaney Johnson with 4, and I think that is everybody. Dylan tonight was in a lot of foul trouble and early, so it really limited him a lot. He does get in 17 minutes of play, but you're not going to see very many stats outside of rebounds and things like that. But, that's kind of Dylan's MO for the most part. So there are your individual stats. We'll go into team stats in just a little bit here. Let's check back in with you all and see what you're saying. Again, a lot of people crediting for the big win on the road, how important that is. Jackson saying, we need to clean up the laziness in the last 3 minutes. Certainly, there is maybe 1-2 games where you can really point to that. Auburn had a big lead, and they got a little bit lackadaisical, at least is what it seems on the outside looking in. Certainly, this one got a little bit too scary. 87-82, a 5-point win. Auburn was favored to win by 10 points. I think the line was 10.5. So 10.5, however you say it. It certainly could be a case for that tonight. But all's well that ends well. Your Tigers are victorious, and Bruce Pearl is the winningest basketball coach in Auburn men's basketball history. I want to point this out to you, too, just for the narrative of it. I need to do this more often. The scoring by half. Auburn was up 39-27 at the end of the first half. And I think a lot of us felt pretty good with the way they ended the first half and the way they started the second half. It really looked, for the most part, like they were going to just walk away and can we all be honest? It was a little bit boring for points in the game. Not at the end, though, because in the second half, Texas outscores Auburn 48-55, resulting in that 87-82 win for Auburn with that comeback of the ages. And we gave a lot of credit to some of the players for Texas tonight. Definitely don't want to play them later in the season. Thankful that we got them now. All right. Team stats. What's the big team stats that stick out to you all? If you're looking at them online with me, or if you know some of them, heard them talk about at the end of the game, certainly drop those in, and we'll talk about them a little bit. But you know where I go first, foremost, the big three in team stats that tell the story of everything. That is free throws, that is turnovers, and that is rebounds. Free throws tonight. I just want to give a big round of applause to both teams for being well above 80% tonight from the free throw line. As a basketball nerd, I love that. 84% for Auburn, 21 of 25. 83% for Texas, 25-30. Well done. So it's 84 and 83. Auburn gets the win in that category. Turnovers, Auburn loses by 1, 10 to 11. Wins 10 to 11. We win that one because you want less than that one. And then rebounds tonight. Total rebounds for Auburn, 37 to 30. They get that win as well. So in the big three for me, Auburn gets the dub and thus tells the story of the game for me, because those are the all-important ones, especially on the road. We can walk through a few more here and see what we got to talk about. Jackson says 8 for 21 from the three, need to shoot a few less threes. Well, we're having pretty good success with the rate that we're shooting in terms of the results of the game. So I'm going to still allow them to be a little bit free in shooting. 38%. I think sometimes we see the 8 of 21 and go, oh, that's horrible. And while 38% isn't amazing, it ain't bad either. It's over one out of every three you're going to make. I'm not saying it's amazing, but it could be much, much worse. They tonight shoot 36%, so okay for the most part. So maybe clutch more than anything. I think the argument about maybe a few less three-pointers is fair from time to time, but that's just the Bruce Pearl team. Field goal percentage tonight, 48 to 46. Auburn wins that one too. Have y'all seen this? I mean, each time we go through this, Auburn right now has been winning all of these just by a very, very small margin, which is a testament to how the game ended and a testament to how Texas could be a really good team down the line. Blake's asking, did they have a big crowd tonight at Texas? I saw an image post of one of the beat writers that was attending, and they made the point that it was not filled in at tip-off. I don't know how it filled in. It was hard to tell from our view of everything. You know, sometimes even when they show you the angles, they can be deceiving. Sounded pretty loud in there, but I think there's probably a little bit, probably wanted a few more there if you're Texas, especially for that comeback that they ended up pulling off, or nearly pulling off, because it wasn't a full comeback. Rest of the stats to look at here. Auburn wins second chance points. This is really where some of the difference is being made. Second chance points for Auburn, 20 to 12. Bench points, 23 to 9. That might be the stat that tells the tale of the tape. Our bench versus their bench. And you can just see it's the story that we've been talking about all year, how deep Auburn is. Everybody scores tonight, as we already talked about, except for Cardwell. Everybody scores for them except for one person too, but all of their points came from Kaluma, and that's about it, outside of Pope. Kaluma, Pope, and then a little bit from Johnson. But outside of that, that's where they kind of made their way back into the game. Points in the paint, dead even, 28 of 28. Fast break points, Auburn wins. Blocks, Auburn wins 10 to 4. How many did Janai had like 2 or 3 tonight? I think I can go look at that in a second. Steals tied 6 of 6, and assist. Auburn continues to share the ball well, 15 of 6. So I'll look at that Janai stat for you right now. Blocks for Janai Broom, 3 tonight. 2 for Denver Jones, 2 for Chad Baker-Mazara, and 1 for Cardwell. That's just the ones that come up at the top for me. So we have talked about individual stats. We have talked about team stats. We have talked about the big storyline. Bruce Pearl, the winningest coach in Auburn men's basketball history. The streak is also ended for Chad Baker-Mazara. First SEC road win. Take your pick. Which one do you want to talk about? Which one do you want to say was the story of the night? It's that wild of an evening and a road win just in general, even in the SEC. You could talk about this 5 ways to Sunday, and you still wouldn't cover the gamut of the wild Tuesday night that it was for Auburn men's basketball and the Auburn family. Okay, we will, on the back end of the show here, cover a little bit more. If there's other topics, questions, stats that you want to discuss a little bit further about this game, please put that in the chat. We'll do our best to keep up with those as best as we can. And then we'll also look ahead a little bit to what's coming up and maybe celebrate a little bit more with Coach Pearl. I want to give you what's coming up next here at E2C Network. Keep in mind, if you're listening to this or watching in the future, some of this isn't relevant anymore, but for those of you that catch it either live or shortly thereafter, you'll be able to catch some of these things. The schedule for you here on YouTube mainly, but other places as well. Auburn Family Night is tomorrow night, Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern time. It's our live call-in show, so please join us for that. We'll certainly be talking about Coach Pearl a lot more there. I want to hear from you guys tomorrow night about your thoughts on Coach Pearl and discuss that and celebrate that with us tomorrow night on Auburn Family Night. We will have a post-game show, Auburn versus South Carolina, as Bruce continues to hopefully move his control of that history tonight even further. Join us for that. And then on Sunday, as always, the Auburn Experience podcast live recording at 9 Eastern time, episode 109. We'll certainly be talking about this and much more within the Auburn Experience in sports, culture, and family. Check out our links in the description, such as being shopping at Alumni Hall. If you use our link and buy something there, you support them and support us. Okay. What do we want to discuss? What left do we have? I'm jazzed up tonight, folks. Can you tell? All of our quad one wins are away. Technically, they are. Some of those are neutral sites, and so you're going to get some people that nitpick that a little bit. But certainly, it is still impressive what Auburn is doing in quad one wins in general, but away from Neville Arena. Very happy that we don't have to play Florida and Gainesville. So some of the implications tonight that we really didn't dive into because it has more to do with what happens next, and that is Auburn the best team in the land? As of this moment, that question is answered. They were number 2. Tennessee was number 1. They got their butts whooped in Gainesville tonight, and they are no longer would be number 1. The polls don't come out to the beginning of next week. Auburn is your number 1 team right now, whether it shows up or not. Now they need to take care of business against South Carolina, but they are the number 1 team. No questions asked anymore. It's not a debate. We don't even have to ask the question anymore. It's done. Kevin got here a little late. We could not agree on who's the player of the game because there's 3 big cases of Janai. There's Miles Kelly, and then there's Chad Baker-Mazara. They've all got a case to make on that one. Blake wants to give player of the game to BP, move us to number 1 too, he says. So that's fine with me as well. Let's see here. Jacob says, considering how all the other home teams in the SEC have done so far, getting a road win is a big deal. Do you see the narrative that's coming up tonight? I'm glad that so many of you guys recognize this because one of my fears was with the way this one was in hand and we kind of let it get out of hand that people wouldn't focus so much on why this is important, how important it is to win on the road in the SEC this year. Unbeaten Lake says, we know AP voters will probably put Iowa State, Duke, and Florida ahead of us. Well, if they put Iowa State ahead of us, then they've got no credibility left. Duke, they would at least have some credibility since they beat us. What a time, folks. What a time to be alive. How do I round this show out? I'm so excited. So much to talk about, and we talked about it so fast, I thought we'd be here all night, but we do need to start winding down the thing. So I can take final comments and questions here. Let me try to tie a bow on everything tonight. Once again, Coach Bruce Pearl, so proud of you, your program, but certainly tonight we honor, celebrate, and admire what you have done for the Auburn family in the basketball realm. We admire and are so thankful for what you've done even outside of the basketball realm and how you're an ambassador for Auburn for so very many things and how you represent yourself and this university. And we could not be prouder to have you as our head coach and now the winningest all-time Auburn men's basketball coach, and it will only increase from here. However long you choose to do that. But we want to extend publicly our congratulations to you and how much we are thankful that you are our head coach. And the Auburn family loves you dearly. I'm going to stop getting sappy now. So many celebrations. Oh, here comes that aura thing again coming up, which I still don't get there. Jacob says, keep us at 2. Just poke the bear and keep the chip on the shoulder. I'm fine with that one. I am truly fine with that one. 214 equals number 1. It's a lot of things came to a head tonight. The streak, the history, the number 1, the road win thing. It just we got people singing War Eagle in the chat. All the good feels tonight, despite the roller coaster ride that we went on. All right, wrapping it up in a bow here tonight. We talked about, as always, the score, the big stat, and the storyline. Your score again, 87-82. Your Tigers win on the road in Austin, Texas, taking down the Longhorns for their first SEC road win of this 2024-25 season. The big stat tonight, 51. The free throw streak ends for Chad Baker-Mazara, and that was big enough. But tonight, the biggest storyline, and maybe even should have probably been the biggest stat, 214 wins. Coach Bruce Pearl, the all-time winningest head coach in Auburn men's basketball history. This has been one of the most fun ones that I've ever had the opportunity to talk about with you guys. And there's been a lot of those in the Bruce Pearl era. And I hope you guys will join us for many, many more post-game reaction shows where we talk about this and hopefully many more wins. Thank you guys for hanging out tonight and being part of our little family within the Auburn family. Until we talk to you again, War Eagle.